Hi, I'm Marilyn Brummett. I am the Director of Development at the Miami Rescue Missions and Broward Outreach Centers. And we have a different kind of guest with us today. I really enjoy interviewing a journalist in journalism. His name is Rodolfo Roman, and we have seen you quite often here at the Miami Rescue Mission with different events and things that have been going on. But you have an interesting story, so welcome on the show today, Rodolfo.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
You were telling me a little bit before we were on the air here, a little bit about your background and how you got into journalism. And let's tell our listening audience that story.
Yeah, well, it started off when I was young at 15 years old. You know, my father was a journalist in Nicaragua. He covered most of the stuff going out there back in the 70s in the Revolutionary War. Then he came to the United States and worked at a local radio station, a Nicaraguan-based community program. And from there on, he actually ventured into the newspaper world. He wrote some articles there. But as a kid, when I was 14, 13, he would take me along. So I would watch him inside the studio talking about the news, writing the news, and sometimes he would actually put me on air. And at the same time, he had a friend who had a small little community newspaper and had actually offered me the chance to write in Spanish for that newspaper. So I was kind of born into this profession, which I ideally love. It's a lot of fun.
Well,
get to meet a lot of people.
That's great. Did that help you in school, too, having a father that was into all this writing and you wasn't afraid of talking? And so I just can imagine that was
Actually, I was very shy.
Really?
I was very shy in school, believe it or not. It was actually when I entered high school that I got into TV production that kind of, hey, you know, I didn't know I have it in me. So then I became outspoken and, you know, more public oriented and so forth. But I was a shy person back in middle school as far as I can remember. And then I was just, you know, the path just took its place and I went ahead. I wrote for my high school newspaper and I was in TV production. Then went into college, wrote for the college newspaper. And at the same time, I was helping my father who had the radio program. So I was reading some news. In fact, here's an interesting story. My father had a heart transplant. It's going to be now 4 years. Mm-hmm. And my Spanish was not 100%. So I kind of had to be ready. So when he was going through his difficulty, which kind of set him back like about 2 years. You know, he almost died. He had doctors had given him 3 months. Thankfully, they found the heart.
Praise God.
Yeah,
and came through it.
Yeah, in Puerto Rico, they brought it, and thank God, you know, they rescued his life. So during that time, that course, I had to step in for him. So I had to pretty much produce the entire show by myself, and this came at a time where I was my senior year in college. And I had to pretty much bring up my grades and so forth and all the stress. And you could just imagine. But thankfully, you know, everything worked out well.
So you came out of the fire, through the fire.
Yep.
And you definitely know what it is to go out and get a story. And I've seen you at work where, you know, you just will say, I want a story about, I mean, when you're here, about some of our former clients. And you started asking questions, but sometimes for them, they'd love to talk too. So
yeah, you know, it's you know, like I was telling you earlier on, to me, you know, there's a political side of journalism, but to me, there's nothing like a human interest story. You learn so much from folks, and sometimes you take into consideration what they've been through and compare yourself. And at the end of the day, you're like, I'm so blessed to have what I have. Mm-hmm. You know, here are people that don't have any homes or they don't have, you know, a kind of soup to eat for dinner. And I'm spoiled. I'm able to eat all 3 times a day. I'm able to go out and exercise. Some of these people are hurt. They don't have money for medical bills and so forth. So, you know, when I look at these folks, I really appreciate all the things that I have.
Well, I enjoyed meeting you. This was the last year, and actually you were here even before that at our Center for Women and Children when there was a makeover by Home Depot. But I actually remember you when a candidate, Willie Bermudez, was running for office, but he had done this huge clothing drive for the mission and had just blasted it out. That's what social media can do for you. Just got that word out, and then they were here, and I met you that day, and you were interviewing people as to why they were doing what they were doing. Why were they doing clothing drives, and also interviewing some of the people that had the benefit of that. And then I think the next time there was a young man who had passed away tragically in a I think a motorcycle accident, and he used to go out on the streets and feed the homeless. And so his family had decided that they were going to come together. It was a memorial like 1 year later, and they actually came here to the mission and did a huge feeding. Brought, I don't know, it was like 80 volunteers that day. And before they went to the grave site, and his last name was Graves, right?
Bruce Graves.
And that was pretty phenomenal. And you came and you covered that story.
Yeah, it's very, very touching when I saw those folks. In fact, I remember prior to distributing the food, they all gathered up and prayed. And thanking for being there, and also for remembering Bruce Graves. The story was incredible. This man, he owned a local food distributing company or catering, and after shows, whatever was left over, he would go on his own. Most of the time would be on weekends. He would go to the downtown area where the homeless tend to be, and just give out this food with no permit. Just bring out a truck and hand over the food. And I interviewed his brother that same day, who had told me an interesting story that he was at a Heat game, and his brother, Bruce Graves, was just about a few blocks away where the homeless are, near the AAA arena, the American Airlines arena. He called them up to tell him if he can bring him a couple of gallons of water or a couple of bottles of water to hand out to the homeless, because he had the food, he just didn't have the liquid. So he stepped out of the game and, helped out his brother, bought the bottles of water, and brought it to Bruce Graves, who handed the food along with the water. So that's how much this man cared about those in need.
Wow, that was pretty
up.
phenomenal. I think they're going to actually do this every year as a memorial to this young man. So I had talked extensively to his father, who is a pastor. And I know he, with tears in his eyes, they so miss him. But anyway, your life is busy. You said you were covering a turkey bowl on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and you informed me of the turkey bowl here at the Miami Rescue Mission.
Yeah, we kind of have an informal one. As we close down the street and before they come with the chairs and the tables, actually our men and alumni actually come back and they play football right there out on the street. It gets real intense.
Yeah, there's nothing like football on Thanksgiving. It's just a tradition. You burn off the calories right before you bring back the calories, so you might as well do a little exercise prior to that.
So you're always looking for that human interest story. If somebody wanted to contact you, Rodolfo, how would they do that?
Oh, they could email me at romandh@yahoo.com.
Roman DH.
That's right. That's ROM as in mom, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, D as in dog, H as in horse at yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com. If you didn't catch that, just call me, Marilyn, at 305-571-2245 or go to our website, miamirescuemission.com. Rodolfo, that was interesting hearing your story and especially how you grew up in this. And I just am going to just pray that there's more stories to come, and you're just going to keep covering those stories and letting the people know what's happening in our area here in Miami-Dade County.
Absolutely. It's always an honor to tell those stories that people need to know about aside from the bigger story. There's a lot of stories that people don't know about from those little people, and they actually get inspiration from that.
Okay, well, thank you very much for being with us today. God bless you.
My pleasure. Thank you.